Hey guys, this is Chris from Smithy Finance. Welcome back. So this is my series on the secrets of the stock market. Veteran pro trader reveals all. I've got 41 years full-time the stock market. This is, I say 85,000 hours. That's a very conservative number. I've probably spent 100,000 hours in the market. I've been a full-time trader from home since the end of 1999. Prior to that, a stockbroker and a floor trader. So I got a lot of experience, and I'm just trying to help you with some of the main, items that you have to keep in mind if you want to win as a trader. So, as I said, I've made millions, I've lost millions at different times, but I've kept millions. And the stock market is really a game of psychology. That's the one thing you want to keep in mind. Yes, there's earnings and profit and loss and revenue and foreign exchange markets and the bond market, but it all comes down to the psychology, the collective psychology of all of us who trade the market. And we need to be properly prepared in the mind. So that's what I'm trying to help you do. And wouldn't you know it, number 13, and again, this is part 4 of many series on the stock market. So point number 13 is to manage your emotions. Now we've just been through a wicked sell-off, and let's hope that it's over. If you've been watching my daily updates, I've talked about it at length, and I've talked to you during the worst of it as a time to be buying and adding and layering in, as we always do, scaling in when things are ugly and scaling some out when we get the relief rallies. So manage your emotions when things are bleak, when things are crappy, when they are shouting on TV about this might be the real break in the market we've been waiting for the last 100 years, 50 years. When that siren sound is out there and things are that bleak, you need to be buying. And when things are easy and euphoric, when everybody is happy and the world is more or less going in the right direction, that's when you need to be selling some, but again, always scaling out and always scaling in. Number 14. So you'll see a lot of stock pickers on TV, whether you're watching CNBC or BNN or Fox News, Fox Business News. There's always fund managers on there, and some of them are quite renowned. And when they make a call, when they say, my top pick is ABC, quite often that stock will have a little bit of a run because people are watching, they're hovering over their computers, and they're buying whatever stock is being touted. Now this is especially true if it's a small cap stock, and especially if it's a small cap Canadian stock. And we see it quite often on our market call where maybe Eric Nuttall, the oil guy, is on, and there's 10,000 traders or 100,000 traders watching him, and his top pick is Meg Energy, which has been his top pick often. And you can see the stock will go up 5% maybe as he's talking and after he's talking. So look, unless you are the first one in, and you're buying that stock, but after he says buy Meg and it's only up, 0.5%, okay, you can buy it. But if it's up 2, 3, 4, 5%, don't buy it. The sharpshooters, guys like me, will anticipate what that analyst is going to say, and we already have our offers layered out there at 2% up, 3% up, 4% up, 5% up. So don't be a sucker. Just put it on your list. Wait a few days, maybe a week. They almost always come back to their starting point, and then you can buy it if you want to buy it. So be aware of that. Don't be the chump who is buying my stock, okay? Be more controlled unless you can get in right away, right at the very beginning of the buy, and you're hitting the buy button, otherwise you're too late, okay? And this one's really important. Number 15, anyone can have a great idea. And I learned this way back 1985, 1986. We had a junior analyst. He picked this was a pharma stock, but a minor one, a Canadian one. It was trading at 350, and he was a real nerdy guy, kind of an outcast almost. He was only 6 months in the market, but he had a CFA, which is not easy to get, certified financial analyst, and he was working with our top analyst. Anyway, he came around and talked to me one night after everyone had gone home. Maybe it was 6 p.m. and I was still in the office, and he said, Chris, I think you should buy blah, blah, blah at 350. I didn't buy it, and wouldn't you know it, 4 months later it hit $7. And I learned a really valuable lesson that anybody can have a great idea. Even your cab driver, your Uber driver, there's kind of a, lore, stock market lore. If your Uber driver, your taxi driver, your bartender is saying, buy Brie X or buy XYZ, then it's over, it's too late, and you should be selling into that. And that's almost always true. But not always. Sometimes those guys will have a great idea. Maybe their neighbor, has started a business and sees the business growing, or his supplier is really growing, or, sometimes people have some insight that you don't have. And it's not like you go out and buy that stock, but you put it on your list and have a look. I had a guy in my gym in 2015 was just talking about Bitcoin constantly. To me, it was a total scam, a non-starter, but he just kept talking about it. It was on that first run, it went from 11 to 18 or something, and then back to 3, whatever it was. But he was absolutely right, and it took me quite a few more years to get onto Bitcoin. So this guy, young guy, but I should have dug in a little bit more at that point. And then this last one, Valour, which trades on Toronto. I'm on X, and listen, I would recommend any of you to join X. You could follow me, Smithy Fitness. I'm known on X. And you can look at who I'm following, because there are a lot of great analysts that you'll see on X who come out. They're like me. They're kind of retired, or maybe they're just spreading their insight to the world, because it's nice to be recognized. And if you have a great idea, you want to share it. You want to help people. We all kind of want to help each other. And so X is a great place to be. Anyway, this stock Valour, I got a direct message from a guy. He said, Chris, I know you don't know me, but I really like this stock, and I think it's going to go way higher. You should have a look. Well, it was at 60 cents, and I did put it on my list, and I had a look at it, and they weren't making any money in particular. It was kind of dead ass. Well, wouldn't you know, 3 or 4 months later, they made an acquisition. The stock gapped from 60 cents to $1.50. It ran to, $2.10 or something. And I was away at the time, but I always look at the market. That's how I've got all these hours. I had a look, and it had gone to 210, and it was coming back a little bit, 190 or something. And I said, okay, well, I read the press release, and it was a good one. This was an amazing acquisition they made. So I put some bids in there, 180, 170, 160, and it came back because it had gone from 60 cents to 210. There's always sellers. You just have to be a little patient. So I layered in, and then it ran a little bit, and I layered out, and then it came back, and I layered in. But all the time I'm watching and reading the press releases. Well, here we are 2.5 years later or so, and the stock's at $8, or it hit $8, and it's at $7.70, and that's in a terrible oil market. So I've made a lot of money off that stock. I've gone in pretty heavy at certain points. I'm not so heavy now because it's had this great run, and I've sold some, but I still own some. And that's from a guy I didn't know at all, and I have thanked him many times. And Ian, if you happen to watch this, thank you again. And as he rightly pointed out, he said, well, kudos to you. A lot of guys wouldn't even have listened or paid any attention to that direct message. And I did, because I know enough to know that anybody can have a great idea. And if they're willing to share it with you, it's worth 3 minutes to have a look at the chart and read the headlines of the last 3 press releases. And that's all it takes. Okay, and number 16 here, risk. Okay, most of the world is scared shitless They don't want to take any risks. They want to have their money in the bank. They want to have fiat, Canadian dollars, US bonds, Canadian bonds, the top 30 stocks, the TSX 30 if we still have that, the Dow. Those are the stocks they want to own. That's 90% of the world. 10% of the world will take some risk. They'll go out on the curve a little bit, maybe buy some smaller caps. And then only 1% of them will do intelligent risk, which means that they're going to look at a Bitcoin, 2 years ago or even now, and put some money into it. They're going to look at the small cap that, like an Nvidia from a few years ago. Although I think Nvidia is probably a buy right now. It's come back quite a bit. That's besides the point. And there's only 0.5%. Now I'm just pulling these numbers out of my derriere, but a very small percent will plow heavily into a stock or a situation when it all lines up. And that's where I want to live. I want to live here. I still have, I have a lot of stocks. I might have 50 different companies, but there's a few of them that I own heavy. And I've made big money on the MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy. Ivanhoe Mines, IVN, which I've owned for years. I own a lot of that. And then I own lots of other things, and some of them I'm adding to, and some of them I'm subtracting to, but I'm always looking for the one. And it's not easy to find the one. But when you do, you need to go heavy into it. There's a guy in the Bitcoin scene, and he says you need to be a smart psychopath and stack. So I'm not quite there. I think he's got 100% of his net worth in Bitcoin. I'm not quite there, but I have quite a bit in Bitcoin, and I think it's something you should really have a look at and least have 2-3% of your net worth in Bitcoin, which might be 10% of your portfolio. That's what I think. Do your own work on that. Always do your own work. So that's about all I've got for now. I don't think I've forgotten anything. I'll get this out. I do put out videos regularly during the week, typically around 1:30 or 2 p.m., just to talk about what's going on in the market, if it's a volatile day in particular, or a stock that I'm watching is having a big move. I like the lithium stock, so I haven't talked about that much. I did a little work this weekend, so I think I'm going to talk about lithium tomorrow. Tune in for that. Okay, please like and subscribe and comment down below, and I will see you in the next one.